Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Sandy Glaze. I'm a personal transformation and self-development coach. And once again, I'm with Desiree Holmes Scherini from the Washington, D.C. area. And we're going to talk today about brainwashing and why we think this is so important right now, because there seems to be a battle for our consciousness. So we're not going to be speaking an awful lot about it today. We are going to come out in more detail, but we do want to give people a heads up that we're going to be sharing some very insightful information about what brainwashing is, how it happens, and what we can do to not succumb to it. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Just a busy week, and as usual, happy to be here, and looking forward to sharing a lot more in our next recording. Yeah.
Yes, and you have a lot to add because you have been trained in certain techniques that people can understand how this works. And so much information is coming out about the P word and the blackmail and what is going on, but they play all their games at their level. But it's up to us not to be taken for fools or being misguided with information that we can't see what's happening. So I was going to start with a definition of brainwashing. One definition, this is a verb, to make someone adopt radically different beliefs by using systemic and often forcible pressure. Now, how many people feel pressure right now that we have to conform for certain things? So that is brainwashing that they're trying to get you to succumb to. Another is they have been brainwashing. These are examples of what they say. They have been brainwashed into conformity and subservience. The organization would brainwash young people. Brainwashing can become more of a social issue in its most severe form because these approaches work at changing the way someone thinks without the victim consenting to it.
Yeah,
So
they believe what they're thinking.
right, that's the
Yeah.
crazy part. So in later times, the term brainwashing came to apply to other methods of coercive persuasion and even to the effective use of ordinary propaganda and indoctrination. And we're hearing a lot about that word.
Yep.
Right? Through media and social media, many people see brainwashing as an evil practice that is done by those who are trying to corrupt, influence, and gain power. So I just pulled off a few of those definitions and just explanations of it. So I have a question, and I've tried to find an answer, which I don't have. Can brainwashing be used for good?
Well, as you were reading that, and it occurred to me that people do it all the time, and it depends on what you call good. So, for example, church. Someone, a child raised in a church actually is brainwashed with the message of that particular church and denomination and religion. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? A lot of it can be a good thing to, say, enforce moral behavior, or to help guide parents brainwash their kids. Well, after you eat your vegetables, you can have TV, and so they start making this association. Eat vegetables, get what I want. That's actually a form of manipulation, obviously, and as it goes on, brainwashing. And when we talk next time, I'll get more into the actual little steps and details.
I would
So
appreciate
it
that.
can be good, but the problem is that sometimes the one enforcing it or doing it, and believes themselves to be right when maybe what they believe to be right is not right. So they're enforcing their agenda on people. Say, that what's right and wrong. Harm, and
And that's
hurt.
really good.
That's wrong. Yeah.
That's one of the questions I want to talk about and address when we do our next segment is what kind of personality traits does the person who does the brainwashing have? What kind of beliefs do they have? What sense of entitlement do they have? So we're gonna dive into that a little more too next time when we have a little more time, right? So another definition, brainwashing, mind control goes. They go by different terms. Menticide. I haven't heard that one before. Coercive persuasion, thought control, thought reform, forced re-education is the concept of the human mind. It is the concept that the human mind can be altered through control by certain psychological techniques.
Absolutely.
So this is where we'll talk about next time, right? And it's also said to reduce subjects' ability to think critically or independently. Who would want somebody to do the thinking for them? And I know there are some people who do, right? But we have so many areas that we're going to go into, and I really want to talk. What's coming up in the news is the three-letter agencies right now. who they won't answer to Congress. They think they're above it when they've been subpoenaed to hand over certain documents, and they don't think they have to. So we will be able to take some excerpts out of some videos, and within those excerpts, we'll be able to put them in our video as well, and just explain and give people reference that they can go and check this out for themselves, right? We're not trying to tell anybody what to think, but they use these techniques because they work.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is what we're trying to do is encourage people to be aware.
Yes.
To be aware, and going back to you know, some of our conversation a few episodes ago, have discernment. Don't just take it at because someone says so. Stop, look, listen, you know, look both ways before you cross that street, because the person encouraging you to cross that street and believe that that's the right direction to go may not have your best interest at heart. And that term, it's for the best. It's for the best.
The greater good.
The greater good. And you know, talk about manipulation. It's like, oh, you need to do this to yourself for everybody else. It's like, excuse me, you know. So there's lots of examples that we could use to show people and have them consider.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, we're waking up to a higher consciousness right now. We know we are. More sun flares are coming in. People are waking up. But it's really important, if they're given more tools that have been hidden away from them, that they can start looking at different possibilities and look at a different, look at information from a different mindset. Sometimes that's all it is that changes it, right? And I remember waking up back in 2012, and I was doing an email campaign because I wanted to see some changes happen. And I think it was the third email I sent. And when I sent the first one, they started locking down their sites. And these are public sites, like public universities, organizations that work to protect children or in the public interest. And they're locking down these sites. So I turn on, I send another email. I don't get a reply. I decide to send the first one a third time. And as soon as I hit it, I thought to myself, these people can't be this freaking stupid. And as soon as I hit the send, that's when I woke up and realized it's not, it's intentional. And once we set the intention and understand the intent of certain behaviors, it helps to make sense of what doesn't make sense. And that's part of the brainwashing, so we can unplug it from ourselves. We've all been brainwashed. We've all been hoodwinked. We've all been duped. Like, there's no one who hasn't been. But the idea is the wave of change is upon us, and we're waking up to see that there's different techniques that we can do. One, recognize how they do it, but see the techniques that we can use to undo it, how to get more aligned with ourselves, and how to put an end to that nonsense. Because you had some really good examples before of what's going on. If we're not careful, there's going to be a lot of hurt people. Right.
And even not even knowing they're hurt, agreeing with hurting themselves. Which we've already seen a lot of in a certain area.
But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there. So when we talk about certain people hurting themselves, my push right now, I will go to the parents. I do want to go and look and see what's going on in that area. Right now, it's the professionals doing it. The people who are entrusted to look after the children. They're the doctors performing certain surgeries. They're educators performing certain techniques in classrooms. There's books that are being foisted upon people that some of the parents are coming right out to the school boards, and they're reading the material, and the people in charge of the school board who work in the school board can't handle it. So
they're saying, please stop.
Right. So then they shouldn't be teaching it to children. So we're going to also read the competency level of the people that we entrust in these positions. So I'm not saying everybody out there in the field of the professions around children are bad. Some haven't got a clue, but doesn't mean they're not brainwashed. Some are bad and some are trying. And I'm not exonerating the parents, but what I find is all the push is on the parents when they stand up, they just get knocked down because the professional bodies are so entrenched and they want to do the brainwashing, which means you can't stand up. So, but I do have issues with parents who aren't getting it either. I totally,
and they're complicit. Even without real, stopping and thinking, like I say, wait a minute, hold on, is this really what you want for your child to believe? And they, I talked to a mom of young kids. I think I brought this up before, and I asked her opinion about a certain thing, about certain shows for young children by adult men dressed as women in front of young children. And her answer was, well, I guess they're just trying to make it so it's more, not so weird, not unusual. When we talked about normal and familiar,
Yes.
and so she didn't seem to think, she was going for that greater good.
You know
Like,
what
whose
I would,
greater good is it? She needs to watch out for her children.
yeah.
Why is
And you
this good for
know,
your child?
what that tells me, that any pedophile, if she were to say that publicly, would know she wouldn't protect her children, and it would be an easy mark. Like, that's what, if you start thinking of these people, if you're not in tune enough to know it's your job to protect your children from certain things that, one, are not age appropriate, two, are
Yeah.
criminal, three, are going to psychologically and physically and damage that child, then
Mhm.
you're of the mark. But the problem is the parent's not going to pay the same price as the child. Right. So there's some things there. So you can look at it by people who are not aware and not awake. They make easy targets. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a bifurcation that happens, but I'm looking
Yes.
forward to our next chat that in a couple of days, just when our schedules allow us a little more time as well.
A
And
lot
we
more
can
time
dive,
because we have a lot to cover.
right.
Absolutely.
And
So,
we can
yeah,
dive in.
I'm glad we just, kind of threw out this preview
Yes,
so people will keep their ears perked up because we're going to be sharing a lot. And Sandy has so much that she's
we both
gathered up.
do.
And I'll be talking about, from a psychology point of view, talking about the training, that I got and how to do that.
Yes,
Behavior modification. So you can see the steps. It's so simple. It's so don't go using it when you shouldn't, right? But it's
totally.
so
And that's,
simple.
I like that.
Yeah.
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 So, perfect. Okay, everybody. We'll see you in the next time. Same bat time, probably not, but same bat channel for sure. Take
Bye.
care.